welcome. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television, the perfect show to kickstart your day, bringing you the top national, international sports and business news. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and here are this morning's headlines. Petrol and diesel cheaper by 2 rupees per litre. Centre reduced the basic excise duty of the fuel to cushion impact of rising international crude prices. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of AIIMS Bilaspur and IIT Una, dedicates a steel processing unit at the Kandrori town in Kangra district. President in Djibouti on maiden overseas visit interacts with the Indian community there, talks about India's high growth trajectory and new opportunities. Pakistan breaks up Kashmir issue again at the United Nations. India reacts strongly, calls it a lonely voice from the wilderness. And US expels 15 Cuban diplomats, calls it action over failure to take appropriate steps to protect American officials from mysterious health attacks in Cuba. Our top story this morning, the centre has reduced the basic excise duty rate on both branded and unbranded petrol and diesel by 2 rupees per litre. Now, the new price has been effective from today onwards. The move comes amid the recent hike in the prices of petrol and diesel, which is being attributed to wavering market price of crude oil. Now, according to the Finance Ministry, the move is an attempt to soften the impact of rising international prices of crude petroleum oil and petrol and diesel on their retail sale prices. It also asserted that the decision has been taken by the government in order to protect the interests of the common man. The ministry further stated that the government will experience a revenue loss of about 26,000 crore rupees in the full year, while 13,000 crore rupees in the remaining part of the current financial year. And there will be an exemption on service charge of tickets booked online till March 2018. The government had waived the service charges after demonetization in November last year to encourage the digital modes of booking. The facility had been extended to 30th of June and then 30th of September. Now, service charges on booking train tickets online through IRCTC ranges from 20 to 40 rupees per ticket. The Railway Board, in its 29th of September directive, had extended the benefit till March next year. On to some other news now. India's annual infrastructure output has grown at its fastest pace of 4.9% in August. The infrastructure growth was 2.6% in the previous month of July. The core sector growth in August is the highest since March by 5.2%. Now, according to unofficial data, the production of coal rose by 15.3%, natural gas of 4.2%, electricity by 10.3%, refinery production rises by 2.4% and steel output by 3%. The data rating agency ICRA in a statement said that the favourable base effect and the expected rebuilding of inventories prior to the festive season has led the IIP to improve in the month of August. 8 infrastructure sectors, including coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery product, electricity, steel, cement and fertilizer, account for about 40% weight in the index of industrial production. However, crude oil, fertilizer and cement recorded negative growth. President Ramnath Kovind is on a 4-day visit to Djibouti and Ethiopia. He arrived at Djibouti city on his maiden trip abroad after assuming office on Tuesday. The president, who was the first Indian leader to visit Djibouti, was received by the Djiboutian Prime Minister there at the airport. Djibouti is an important Indian Ocean partner country with whom India's bilateral trade stands at $284 million in 2016-17. President Kovind interacted with nearly 200 Indians on Tuesday, and while addressing the Indian community, he thanked Djibouti for its role in helping Indians to evacuate from Yemen 2 years ago. He also spoke about India's high growth trajectory, adding that it is opening new opportunities for collaboration. The President further spoke about the changes India plans to undertake by 2022, which will also mark the 75th year of independence.
टेररिज्म से यहाँ के लोग भी परेशान हैं, हमारा देश भी परेशान है, पड़ोसियों से यहाँ भी परेशान है। सबसे बड़ा जो एक जिसके लिए हम इस देश के आभारी हैं, जिसमें कि हमारा ऑपरेशन राहत हुआ था, अभी 2 साल पहले यमन में जो घटना हुई, वहाँ से हम लोगों ने भारतीयों को और भारतीयों के अलावा दूसरे कंट्रीज़ के लोगों को बचाया, इवैक्यूएट किया। वो बहुत बड़ी बात थी और मुझे लगता है उसमें आप सबका भी बहुत बड़ी भूमिका थी। मैं उसके लिए आज मैं यहाँ पर इस मंच से आप सब लोगों को भी बधाई और मैं थैंक यू बोलना चाहता हूँ। Our relations with this beautiful continent have a special place in our hearts, and we remain ever committed to deepen our fraternal bonds with the African people.
And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu is on a 2-day visit to Andhra Pradesh. On the first day, he laid the foundation stone of a national waterways development project on Krishna River in Vijayawada. He also inaugurated several national highway projects in the state. Now, speaking at the event, Vice President Naidu emphasized the need for interlinking of rivers. He also emphasized learning one's mother tongue is crucial to be able to learn other languages.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu laid the foundation stone for an inland waterway in the Krishna River in Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. The inland waterway will connect Muktiala and Vijayawada in the capital region of Amravati. The Vice President also laid the foundation stone for 6 new national highway projects in the state, while dedicating 7 other national highway projects to the nation. Inaugurating the projects, Venkaiah Naidu emphasized the need for interlinking of rivers.
నదులన్నీ కలిపితే దేశం సుభిక్షం అవుతుంది, నీటి సమస్య తీరుతుంది. నదులు రోజు రోజుకి నీరసించిపోతున్నాయి, నదులలో నీళ్లు లేవు, ఇసుక మాత్రం ఉంది. ఆ ఇసుక కూడా ఈ మధ్య ఏమైపోతుందో మీ అందరికీ బాగా తెలుసు, నేను ఎక్కువగా చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. అందుకని మనం నదుల్లో ఇసుకను కాపాడుకోవాల్సింది, నీళ్లను కాపాడుకోవాల్సింది, నదులను మురికిమయం చేయకుండా చూసుకోవడానికి అవసరం ఎంతో ఉంది. నదులు మనకి జీవాన్ని ఇచ్చేవి, నదులు మనకి ప్రాణవాయువు లాంటివి, నదులు మనకి తిండి పెట్టేవి, నదులు మనకి పచ్చదనాన్ని ఇచ్చేవి, నదులు మనకి సంస్కృతిని ఇచ్చేవి.
The program was attended by Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari, Governor ESL Narasimhan and Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu among others.
We have just doubled the length of National Highway in Andhra Pradesh. At present, the length of NH in Andhra Pradesh is 7,913 kilometers. And I am promising you, and Honorable Chief Minister, that in the road sector alone, we will invest more than 1 lakh crores for road construction in Andhra Pradesh.
Addressing the gathering, the Vice President also underscored the importance of learning one's mother tongue.
పరభాష ఎలాంటిదంటే కళ్ళద్దాలు లాంటిది. నీ కళ్ళుంటే కళ్ళద్దాలు పనిచేస్తాయి, నీ కళ్ళే లేకపోతే కళ్ళద్దాలతో ఉపయోగం ఉండదు. అందుకని అది ఇంగ్లీష్ కావచ్చు, హిందీ కావచ్చు, ఇంకో భాష కావచ్చు. భాష బాగా వచ్చినప్పుడే ఆ భాషలో నువ్వు రాణించగలవు.
82-kilometer inland waterway between Muktiala and Vijayawada is the phase 1 of the National Waterway 4 under the Sagar Mala project and will be used mainly to transport cement and construction material for Amravati. It will also provide connectivity to important tourist and pilgrimage spots by the river. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi was on a day-long visit to Himachal Pradesh on Tuesday. He laid the foundation stone of several development projects in the state, including the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Bilaspur. He also addressed a rally in the district, kick-starting his party's campaign in the poll-bound state.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi kick-started the BJP's poll campaign in Himachal Pradesh on Tuesday. Addressing a rally in Bilaspur, he targeted the ruling Congress government in the state. Modi said the state government is on bail in an oblique reference to Chief Minister Veerbhadra Singh, who is embroiled in money laundering and disproportionate assets cases.
हिमाचल में जमानती सरकार चल रही है, ये जमानती सरकार है। तो मुझे कांग्रेस के लोग मिलने आए एक बार, तो ऐसे ही मेरी बात चली। मैंने कहा यार, ये आपके मुख्यमंत्री, उनका पूरा परिवार भ्रष्टाचार के मसले में जमानत पे बाहर है, आप सीएम बदलते क्यों नहीं है? बदलते क्यों नहीं है? बोले कैसे बदले, हमारी पूरी पार्टी जमानती है।
The Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for the All India Institute of Medical Sciences at Bilaspur and an Indian Institute of Information Technology at Salo in Una.
दूर दूर से लोग आते हैं, अगर उनको ट्रॉमा सेंटर की सुविधा मिल जाए, एम्स जैसी व्यवस्था मिल जाए, तो हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी कोने से आए हुए यात्री को भी ये हिमाचल की धरती उसको ठीक ठाक करके, उसका स्वास्थ्य अच्छा बना करके अब एम्स आने के बाद उसके घर लौटाएगी। और जब हिंदुस्तान से आने वाले को पता चलेगा कि हिमाचल में मेरी इतनी देखभाल होती है, तो यहां टूरिस्ट का भी आना मन करेगा।
Modi dedicated the steel processing plant at Khandrori in Kangra district via video conference from Bilaspur. He also announced that the centre is investing 15,000 crore rupees in 13 development projects in Himachal Pradesh. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from Jammu and Kashmir. 3 suicide attackers carrying a massive arsenal of guns and explosives broke into a border security force camp near the Srinagar airport before dawn on Tuesday and opened fire, killing 1 soldier. All the 3 terrorists were killed in an operation that lasted nearly 10 hours. The terrorists belong to the Jaish-e-Mohammed. Here are the details.
A barrage of gunfire and explosions broke out in the wee hours at BSF's 182 Battalion camp near the high-security Srinagar International Airport. 3 terrorists in military fatigues breached 4 layers of security at the camp around 4 a.m., firing indiscriminately and throwing grenades. The soldiers retaliated immediately and shot down one of the attackers. A few hours into the exchange of fire, State Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh came out to make a statement.
About 3, they came to the gate of BSF. They lobbed grenades. Ultimately, about 3 BSF Jawans, they have been injured. They are out of danger.
But the news got worse for the Indian side as an assistant sub-inspector of the BSF was killed in the exchange of fire.
सिविल एरिया जो है फ्रेंड्स कॉलोनी और गोगोलैंड के बीच से उन्होंने एंटर करने का कैंपस में प्रयास किया और उसको लड़का का फायर ओपन किया है, तो एक तो उसमें इमीडिएट वहीं की वहीं जो है न्यूट्रलाइज हो गया। एसओस मैस में भी हमारे जो वहाँ पे स्टाफ थे उन्होंने बहुत ब्रेवरी से उनका जो है सामना किया और दूसरे को वहीं न्यूट्रलाइज किया। तीसरा एटम ब्लॉक के अंदर घुसा था, ऊपर की साइड चला गया। बहुत ही कोऑर्डिनेट वे में हमने उसको लोकेट करके और ये देख के कि कोई सिविल पॉपुलेशन आसपास है और कोई कोलेटरल डैमेज न करते हो, उस तरीके से पूरा ऑपरेशन कंडक्ट किया, तीनों को न्यूट्रलाइज किया।
The one sub-inspector who was last, who could not be evacuated, he was killed. He succumbed to his injuries on way to hospital, and we are very offensive. Both the army and BSF, they are absolutely offensive. They will see to it that Pakistan militants are totally neutralized and they cannot penetrate now.
Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed's Afzal Guru squad has claimed responsibility for the attack. Reports say the Jaish-e-Mohammed has sent over 24 suicide attackers of Fidain who crossed over to India through the Jammu sector in August. Reports also claim that the Home Ministry is extremely worried that terrorists were able to cut through multiple layers of security in the most protected area of Srinagar. The BSF camp is also close to the technical airport used by the armed forces and VIPs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Staying with news from Kashmir, an army Jawan was killed as Pakistani forces violated the ceasefire in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district on Tuesday. Now, according to defense officials, the Pakistani army initiated unprovoked firing on Indian army posts in the Krishna Ghati sector on Tuesday afternoon. This happened at a time when the security forces were neutralizing the terrorists who had launched a brazen attack on a BSF camp in Srinagar early morning. The Indian troops retaliated strongly and effectively to the Pakistani firing. In the exchange of fire, Naik Mahendra Chemjung was grievously injured and later succumbed to his injuries. 35-year-old Chemjung belonged to Nepal and is survived by his wife and a son. On Monday, 2 minors had lost their lives and 12 other civilians were injured in cross-border shelling by Pakistan along the LOC in Poonch district. And in related news, India summoned Pakistan's Deputy High Commissioner and issued a démarche over the death of 3 minors in unprovoked firing by Pakistani forces in the Poonch sector. Pakistani diplomat Syed Haider Shah was summoned to the External Affairs Ministry and it was conveyed that such deliberate targeting of civilians was not acceptable and was against humanitarian norms and practices. Strong concern was also expressed over the continued unprovoked firing by Pakistani forces across the line of control and the international boundary in violation of the 2003 ceasefire understanding. According to the ministry, 503 such violations have been carried out by Pakistani forces so far during 2017. And on Tuesday, Pakistan also raked up the Kashmir issue again at the United Nations with its envoy accusing India of spreading terrorism in the valley. Pakistan's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, Maliha Lodhi, during a debate of the General Assembly, also alleged that India made a false claim of conducting surgical strikes across the LOC to provoke conflict with Pakistan. The comment drew a strong reaction from India, which described Pakistan's Zadya tribe as a lonely voice from the wilderness. Inam Gambhir, First Secretary at the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations, also said that Pakistan has only focused on a topic that has not even been deliberated upon for decades at the United Nations. We'll take a very short break here. Up next, we have more news. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back after the break. Vijay Mallya was rearrested in the UK in a money laundering case filed by the Enforcement Directorate of India. He was, however, released on bail by a court in London. Remember, Mallya is already out on bail on an extradition warrant executed by the Metropolitan Police earlier this year. He was released on the same bail conditions as before to appear for his extradition hearing on 4th of December. Now, Mallya maintains that he has done nothing wrong and termed the allegations against him as fabricated. The previous fraud charges relate to Mallya's now defunct Kingfisher Airlines, owing more than 9,000 crore rupees to various Indian banks. The UB Group chief has been on self-imposed exile in the UK since he left India on 2nd of March 2016. And on to our top international story. The United States has expelled 15 Cuban diplomats, saying that the Havana has failed to protect US diplomats from mysterious health attacks. The Cuban diplomats have been given 7 days to leave Cuba. Now, Cuba's foreign minister called the move as unacceptable and unjustified. The Department of State's move follows last week's US withdrawal of more than half of its own diplomats from the Cuban capital. At least 21 people working at the US's embassy in Cuba have reported health problems ranging from mild brain trauma and deafness to dizziness and nausea. The cause of the mysterious health attack, which were for the first time reported in the month of August, is still being investigated. As per reports, the attacks were caused through a sonic device. Now, the State Department is yet to find such device.
The Department of State informed the government of Cuba today that it was ordering the departure of 15 of its officials from its embassy in Washington, D.C. That decision was made due to Cuba's inability to protect our diplomats in Havana, as well as ensure equity in the impact of our respective operations. Until the government of Cuba can ensure the safety of our diplomats in Cuba, our embassy will be reduced to emergency personnel to minimize the number of diplomats at risk of exposure to harm. This is not a punishment. We are not going to say is responsible for these attacks. We have consistently said there is an investigation ongoing. The Cuban government knows that. We've made that clear to the Cuban government. We are not assigning any blame.
El Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores protesta enérgicamente y denuncia esta decisión infundada e inaceptable, así como el pretexto utilizado para justificarla al afirmarse que el gobierno de Cuba no adoptó todas las medidas adecuadas para prevenir los alegados incidentes.
And news from Spain now, which is facing a political and constitutional crisis. This after Catalans voted in favor of independence in a referendum on Sunday that descended into chaos when Spanish police launched a widespread and violent crackdown. The Catalan government says that it has earned the right to split from Spain after results showed that 90% were in favor of a split. The region's leaders now say that Catalonia will declare independence from Spain in a matter of days. Days after the referendum vote in Spain's northeastern region of Catalonia, it is split wide open in the Spanish society. Catalan leaders are looking to leverage the referendum result to push for independence from Spain, saying that they had earned the right to split. Strikes and huge protest rallies have been taking place across Catalonia. In Barcelona alone, 7 lakh people took to the streets, causing big traffic jams. Top tourist attractions were closed. Many small businesses and schools, universities and medical services also shut. The protesters insist that during the ballot on Sunday, in which 90% voted in favor of split, there were grave violations of human rights and police excesses.
Un poco de una injusticia lo que se está haciendo contra la ciudadanía, que son simplemente pues querían votar, expresar un sentimiento y bueno, pues hay mucha presión.
The leader of the autonomous region, Charles Puigdemont, has claimed that Catalonia will declare independence from Spain in a matter of days. This comes after Spain's King Philip VI on Tuesday accused Catalan leaders of shattering democratic principles, saying that he was committed to the unity of Spain and stressing that Spain will overcome difficult times.
A todos los españoles. Todos hemos sido testigos de los hechos que se han ido produciendo en Cataluña, con la pretensión final de la Generalitat de que sea proclamada ilegalmente la independencia de Cataluña.
Meanwhile, pro-Spain demonstrators also held rallies in a show of solidarity with the police. During the vote, 33 police officers were also injured. While EU has also backed Madrid, many other nations have termed the present crisis as an internal matter for the Spanish government. They have nevertheless expressed concern. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights called for an investigation into violence around the independence referendum.
Не скрою, мы очень переживаем за Испанию. Это, конечно, внутреннее дело Испанского королевства. Надеемся, что кризис удастся преодолеть.
On Sunday, in the referendum called illegal by Spain, vote in support of independence was nearly 90%. But amid a harsh response from the Spanish police, turnout was only 42%. Catalan government says close to 900 people were injured in the clashes as the riot police raided polling stations, dragged away voters and fired rubber bullets. Catalan President Charles Puigdemont denounced the police crackdown, the worst violence Catalonia has seen since the military dictatorship of Francisco Franco. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. News from the US now, where the Las Vegas massacre has triggered a debate on the controversial gun control legislation in the country. Nearly 12,000 people have been killed in gun violence as 273 mass shootings have occurred so far in the United States in 2017. The investigators are trying to find out the motive behind the Sunday's attack, in which 59 people were killed and 500 others injured when a gunman opened fire during a music concert in Las Vegas. According to the police, the gunman had set up multiple cameras around the hotel room. At least 23 guns have been found in the hotel from the place. US President Donald Trump will visit Las Vegas today to meet the families of the victims. The massacre has been described as the deadliest in the modern US history.
This epidemic of gun violence is a uniquely American problem. It doesn't happen in any other industrialized country. And it's not because we have a higher rate of mental illness than other countries do. It's not because we spend less money on law enforcement than other countries do.
I may know, but as you can imagine, in a criminal investigation, we want to ensure the continued safety of our community, and then all those questions are answered. And I assure you, this investigation is not ended with the demise of Mr. Paddock.
And a look at what else is making news across the world in World Wrap. US astrophysicists Barry Barish, Kip Thorne and Rainer Weiss awarded the Nobel Physics Prize for the discovery of gravitational waves. It was predicted by Albert Einstein a century ago as part of its theory of general relativity, but only detected in 2015. Gravitational waves are ripples in space-time, as the theoretical fabric of the cosmos is called. The city of Oxford has withdrawn an honour it bestowed on Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi. The Federation of Oxford, granted to the de facto leader of Myanmar in 1997 for her struggle for democracy, was withdrawn as her reaction to the perceived inadequate response to the plight of Rohingya Muslims. A 2013 hack affected all 3 billion accounts at Yahoo. This was stated by the online giant's parent company following a new analysis of the incident. The disclosure from the Verizon revised sharply upward the initial estimate of 1 billion accounts affected. The Yahoo breach was already believed to be the largest ever in terms of numbers of users affected. And US President Donald Trump visited hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico and met the local leaders and a federal responder there. He used the opportunity to pat his government on the back for its response to the natural disaster. Now, downplaying his earlier remarks on how dire things are in the island, he said that Puerto Rico is throwing the US budget out of gear. And on to sports now. For the first time, India will be hosting the FIFA Under-17 World Cup starting from Friday. Making a comeback to the international football after 57 years, India will join 23 top football nations at the biggest stage in youth football. Ahead of the event, Sports Minister Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore wished the Indian team all the best. Now, hosts India, who are placed in Group A, will open their campaign against the United States on 6th of October, followed by Colombia on 9th of October and then Ghana on 12th of October.
You may have got an entry because you're a host nation, but that doesn't deter you from surprising many accomplished teams by your level of performance and your ability to come together and play. You don't play for Manipur, you don't play for Goa or Bengal or any other state. It's very essential that you understand that you play for India.
And that's it from me and my team in this edition of News. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.